Welcome to the Catholic Apostolate Center's Blogcast series. Today's episode is titled, What a Wonderful World, written and read by Kate Fowler. Laugh and grow strong, St. Ignatius. It's 10 p.m. and the limbs are flowing. Arm circles, head bobs, tapping feet. I clean the kitchen counter like Mr. Miyagi. Wax on, wax off, and jam out to my favorite song after an exhausting day. The sheer ridiculousness of my dance moves makes me smile, but I don't care. I realize life doesn't always need to be taken so seriously. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I walk home on a Tuesday evening from the playground with my 3 children. My 4-year-old turns back to look at me, only to collide into his older brother. The two fall to the ground, crumpled together like a terrible game of Twister, and an eruption of wailing ensues. The chaos startles my 8-month-old daughter, who decides to join in on the chorus. The sheer ridiculousness of the incident currently occurring on the main avenue of our neighborhood causes me to chuckle. We must look like a pitiful sight to the cars zooming up and down the street. I soothe my daughter and stoop down to hug my boys and offer to race them home. As our limbs fly down the sidewalk, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I stretch my leg out over the strawberry patch, my daughter strapped closely to my chest, and find myself practically doing the splits in the mud. Thankfully, my shorts are unharmed. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. What a wonderful world indeed. It's a sentiment not many might feel while watching the news or scrolling on their social media feeds. In fact, many things have occurred lately in life that evidence the very opposite. I'm not belittling the world's or my own suffering, nor am I ignoring it or living naively. But lately in my life and in my motherhood, the Lord has given me the gift of a sense of humor. I've been swimming in my sheer helplessness and finding out everything will be okay if I let the Lord be my current. I do not need to have my act together to be infinitely loved and cared for by my Heavenly Father. I do not have to bemoan my littleness or earn God's mercy. I just have to ask Him for help. Every day, I am Peter flailing in the water. All God is asking me to do is to reach back for the hand that's always been extended. So I reach and then bow my head down to pray. Dear Lord, please help me not to be a nincompoop today. So much of my life and motherhood is serious business. Sneaking in as many vegetables as possible into my children's diets, teaching them how to scrub their teeth diligently, choosing books and music and television that reflect truth and beauty, modeling or attempting to model virtue, practicing superhuman patience, answering and acknowledging 1,000 pieces of information, mainly in the form of random questions, a day. But so much of it is silly and joyful too. Pretending to be a pirate with my sons and collecting buried treasure, responding to the incessant demand to get us at the playground and becoming incredibly adept at climbing play structures, reading books using all the voices, having dance parties, oohing and aahing at their latest insect find, or screaming that a fire truck is coming and pointing wildly to where it is, watching my daughter shove food into her mouth with delightful noises and finding half of it on her lap, seeing her crawl for the first time, having a deep conversation with her, using babbling noises. I can choose to view my life through so many lenses, but what I'm being reminded of recently is to choose the lens of the good, true, and beautiful, of the silly and the miraculous, the lens of joy and gratitude. Why do we take life so seriously all the time? When did we stop dreaming or doing awkward dance moves in the kitchen by ourselves? When was the last time you laughed until the tears streamed down your cheeks? After having 3 children, I guess I've realized how fleeting it all is. how quickly this growing up business happens without my permission. And so even though motherhood and raising a family are incredibly hard and stretching, i.e. the strawberry patch, I can't help but pause for a moment and relish this time in all its sheer ridiculousness and glory. Having entered into my third decade of life, I've experienced a decent share of hardship, loss, suffering, and death. I've attended many funerals, prayed for many sick people, and heard many tragic stories. Lately, it feels as though the accumulation of these events and stories has become stronger and more prevalent. It seems that many people within my network are experiencing the loss of friends or family members, the death of a parent, young people battling cancer, tragic childhood accidents. Tragedy and losses like this have reopened my eyes to the reality of how fleeting life is, and helping me more deeply appreciate the hidden blessings all around. I've often mused recently that my biggest issue these days is likely poop-related or has to do with a lack of sharing. My problems can generally be solved with hugs, eye contact, a fresh diaper, sleep, or a snack. The checkerboard of crumbs on my dining room floor that normally seems like a mountain now feels surmountable. I stop and thank God that these are my issues and annoyances. So I dance, mostly by myself, in the kitchen. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.